member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And as always, it's an honor to be able to stand in this House and specifically to follow up on a question that I asked the Prime Minister, which fell under the agricultural file. But the question, my response today, I need to tell the story of a woman named Dawn, who up until recently ran a multi-generational greenhouse called Shirley's Greenhouse, named after her mom. Now, I chatted with Dawn the other day, and she shared something very tragic, that it was Liberal policy, specifically the carbon tax, but also the fact that when she ran into, as a single mom, some challenges in her life, that all of a sudden the planned resilience in her agricultural operation had evaporated because of the increased costs for two reasons. One is the increased costs associated with the carbon tax, and two was the increased costs associated with interest rates, both of which have a direct impact from the actions of this Liberal government. Dawn shared her tragic story with me about how, after trying to make things work as a greenhouse operator and a multi-acre vegetable crop, she simply couldn't make a go of it. She has been forced to sell, and just recently that was finalized. She asked me, Madam Speaker, to make sure that I keep fighting for farmers, and that she proudly didn't put her logo on her trailer that she took around to farmers markets. She didn't just promote herself, but the sticker that she told me she puts on her trailer and her vehicles says this: "No farmers, no food." And I think, Madam Speaker, as I could hear the emotion in Dawn's voice, she explained about how the carbon tax and bad Liberal policies directly attacked her and her ability to make her operation successful, even though it was a multi-generational operation. But, Madam Speaker, what is truly tragic in this whole conversation is that in the follow-up to this conversation, she had another conversation with another politician only a few days before. That politician was the Minister of Agriculture, who in a video Zoom call, had met with a number of farmers from across the prairies, where Dawn shared her concerns directly with him about how the carbon tax was impacting Canadians. Now, Madam Speaker, I can get passionate and debate in this place, and there's a reason for that. It's because when constituents, when Canadians like Dawn tell their stories, and even in this case, she described how just days before my conversation with her this weekend, she had told her concerns to the Minister of Agriculture directly, yet they fell on deaf ears. Shameful. Madam Speaker, farmers deserve better. And what is truly tragic is that as the Liberals are attacking farmers by their refusal to support common sense Conservative Bill C-234, their attacks on fertilizer mandates and a whole host of other things, now, get this, the debates and discussions are ongoing about how they're going to regulate cow farts. I wish I was making this up, Madam Speaker. As the Liberals attack agriculture, the reality is this: it's Canadians that pay more. As farmers are forced to cut back, close their operations, reduce their ability to produce the world-class food that we need, it is Canadians that are forced to pay the price. And we see the direct impact of that in the cost of food. So, Madam Speaker, my question is simple. Why won't these Liberals listen to farmers like Dawn?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Well, Madam Speaker, I wouldn't agree with the member's conclusions as he tries to imply, again, misinformation. That it's just not true that the government of Canada does not support farmers. I suspect that if we go into the days in which I was opposition member, and I just made reference to the Canadian Wheat Board, and I can tell the member I was on Main Street by Portage Avenue when there were hundreds of farmers that were out there furious with the Stephen Harper government and believed that they were destroying the industry, at least in part, many of those farming industries. You're always going to find, Madam Speaker, that the the Liberal government as a whole has been and continues to be exceptionally supportive of the farming communities, rural communities, through a wide variety, whether it's budgetary motions, whether it's through the expansion of international trade. No government has signed off on more trade agreements than this government, which has enhanced all sorts of opportunities for farmers. And you will find, Madam Speaker, on agricultural products, a good percentage of that is actually exported outside of Canada. And a good example of that, I would suggest to the member, is the hog industry. Hog industry in the province of Manitoba is doing exceptionally well, Madam Speaker. There's certain industries within our rural communities that where we can give more attention, and the government will continue to do so. But what I find somewhat sad is that the Conservative Party of Canada is trying to utilize the farming community, as they are for Indigenous communities now, to try to win the battle of getting rid of the price on pollution, Madam Speaker. The Conservative Party needs to wake up and realize, as the world is moving towards recognizing climate change and bringing in progressive policies such as a price on pollution, that it's only the Conservative Party in Canada that seems to want to deny that sensible approach at dealing with climate change. And yes, we do have to take into consideration individuals like Dawn. So when she talks about interest rates, when she talks about the impact of carbon pricing, Madam Speaker, that we do need to listen, and where the government's into a position in which we can take action, I believe that the government is doing just that. But to say and use farmers like Dawn as a political tool to get rid of the price on pollution, generally, I think is wrong.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Madam Speaker, it was Dawn that asked me to make sure that her story was told. That's right. Because it's farmers like Dawn that are paying the price of these Liberal policies. So this isn't some Conservative political agenda. This is an agenda to make sure that Canadians can afford to eat, house, and heat their homes. Madam Speaker, you know, because that member refused to answer Dawn's question, I would like to reference something else. There's a veteran shared with me a gas bill. Fairly straightforward thing. Many people in this place get them. But in the context of the carve-out that those Liberals provided for 3% of Canadians, this constituent, a veteran on a fixed income, shared with me that his cost of gas was $55. Now, he lives in a rural area. The carbon tax and the GST on it, $44.65. So at a time where there's an affordability crisis...
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like the member to maybe consider coming out to Winnipeg North and then explaining to why it is that the Conservative Party, through misinformation, is trying to say to my constituents that by the Conservative Party getting rid of the price on pollution, that life is going to be more affordable, Madam Speaker. Because in reality, that's not true. 80% of my constituents that I represent or more is actually going to have less disposable income if the leader of the Conservative Party prevails and ignores the environment and gets rid of the price on pollution. So where the member there talks about one or two cases, and I'm sympathetic to the cases, Madam Speaker, I'm talking about tens of thousands of residents that I represent with this Conservative policy that he's advocating will ultimately see their disposable income go down.